Gretel and Hansel is the latest retelling of a classic Brothers Grimm fairy tale in a horror format, and for maybe the 4 people in this world who aren't at least basically familiar with the original story, Hansel and Gretel, it follows 2 siblings who enter a dark wood in order to find work and food to assist their poor parents, and they happen to stumble upon a home of an evil witch, and the film seems to be doing that same story, only set out to be more fleshed out with Gretel as the primary focus. And most of you know that I'm not the biggest fan of the horror genre, and that's mainly because I'm not a fan of being scared or being put into scary situations. That's why you will never see me at a Universal Studios Halloween Horror Nights. Unless my wife is there to protect me, and by that I mean my wife has to be there to let me hold on to her for dear life while I scream next to her ear. I love you, Mallory. So because of that, I'm not really looking forward to this movie on that front, although it does at least look like it's trying to be stylistic from the cinematography, and that's one of my top 2 favorite things about movies, so I was going to see it anyway, but, you know, it's regardless of whether I was going to do it for me or for the channel. I would have gone either way, it didn't matter. Though, and I think everybody has this fear, I fear that I'll go in and I'll just come out thinking that they only made the movie because someone pitched a Hansel and Gretel movie where Gretel is the main character because female-led films are popular, and that's the only reason to make female-led movies, you know, not because it's a good concept or a story that happens to be led by a woman, but because it's fucking popular, and that's it. But, as always, we shall see when I come out. Now, before I head out to the theater, I do want to throw out my normal disclaimer for those of the uninitiated so that when I get back to the actual review in this video, you'll better understand the format that I'm using, just in case it's confusing to anybody. I have met some people who said that it is a little bit confusing, so that's why I do this. Anyway, the way that I convey my thoughts on a film is I do a pro and con list. It helps me to best categorize and catalog all the good and bad, in my opinion, on a film. And while I try to keep the sections separate, if I can make a pro and con work off of each other, or if they're just intrinsically tied together, then I will definitely take advantage of that. Anyway, there's your disclaimer, and I'll see you guys again when I get back from seeing Gretel and Hansel. Still feels weird to say it like that.
Pleased to make your acquaintance. I'm called Gretel, and this rough one here is my brother Hansel.
Ouch! Tell me how you came to be in my woods.
There's too much, and it isn't right.
You're scared.
There's something wrong here.
Careful, dear. I'd hate for you to start something you can't stop.
Well, as you could no doubt tell from the trailers, the cinematography's top-notch. It's shot in certain aspect ratio. I'm pretty sure that it's 155. I'm still getting an understanding of ratios and how to best, identify them with my eye instead of just each time I'm going after just looking at a chart and being like, okay, I think it was this one. I'm still trying to get to a point where I'm at least better than a novice or an amateur on that, but anyway, I'm rambling. And it being in a different aspect ratio lends to the film feeling, or it lends to a feeling of cramped, old-fashioned filmmaking, which I did like. And the filmmakers do play with what's going on in the scenes early on using this aspect ratio, but after a while, the aesthetic became pointless. Pretty much, when pretty much everything is centered on the shot, perfectly centered, changing the aspect ratio just comes across as a bit more of a pretentious production choice, and I don't think the aspect ratio mattered in the long run anyway, especially because there's a scene involving a backstory later on, and that was in a completely different ratio, also making that feel like it was something originally unplanned and that was tacked on at a later date during the production. And for an issue that I've been having, I I've been having these with a lot of shorter movies recently. The movie is less than 90 minutes long, which again, during my rhythm section review, I mentioned that usually a good sweet spot for a movie is around 90 minutes, and that one was around 90 minutes, and that one felt way too long. This is 87 minutes, and it felt way too damn long. I felt like I was sitting in that chair for a while. I wanted to get up a couple of times, and just, I don't know. The script also doesn't have much to it. It really just feels like they really stretched out the original fairy tale and just added in a couple of elements to help pace it better, only I think it would have been better without the added elements. Would it have been good that way? Probably not, but it would have, or more specifically, could have felt better. Not to mention the fact that much of the film is predictable, and I'm not saying that just because the basic story is very well known even to those who've never read the source material. I'm talking about myself especially. It is most of that, but it's also because of jump scares, the scourge of modern horror flicks, which can be seen from a mile away. One thing that bothered me throughout the film was actually a choice to do a voiceover from Gretel, where she just starts giving expositional dialogue and also talking about her feelings, which can work sometimes. I mean, Ad Astra did the same thing, or at least kind of, and that was expertly done, but I don't know, the dialogue didn't work for me, but mainly the issue that I had was that it felt like it was from a different film. Actually, a lot of this film felt like it was from 3 distinct films, and they somehow got spliced in together. There's one scene that was definitely from a different movie. It was where the children go into a house and lay down in this bed that they've never seen before, in this house that they've never seen before. They lay down and this thing just gets up and it starts chasing them out of the building, and it's like some kind of demon or zombie or whatever. All I know is that he looked like a leper version of the Dean from the show Community. And this entire situation is never brought up again, and it was most definitely not tied to the overall plot, so why? In the end, Gretel and Hansel, I still hate that title. It's easier to say Hansel and Gretel, but that's mainly because, you know, that's how we've heard it throughout all of our lives. That's how we've heard it as we've been raised up. But this movie was a very forgettable horror film that you'd expect to see in the month of January. Just don't go see it. I can guarantee you will not like it. When I was walking from my seat to the front door of the theater, I heard many different people from obviously many different backgrounds all say the same 2 things. The first one was, what the hell did I just watch? And the second one was, this is fucking stupid. And that's all I have for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Please don't forget to hit that like button and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And as always, farewell until the next video, all of you casual moviegoers and movie fans alike, and keep on being awesome.